As someone who lives in a border state, what can you tell us about what people might not be understanding, what's going on with the illegal immigration and the federal government's complete failure in addressing that? Do you think the states should start taking over where the federal government has failed, or what do you see there?
So I personally live 80 miles from the southern border. And what we see is truly an invasion. You know, candidates like Carrie Lake here in Arizona, that's not hyperbolic when she says it's an invasion. And if she ends up winning the governor's race, she's going to declare an invasion. And that's what we need to do, because we have record amounts of fentanyl coming across that southern border. And we just saw a police officer last week in Florida touched some fentanyl when she was making an arrest, and she had to be revived by Narcan. We have 100,000 young people in America that have died of a fentanyl. It's really not even an overdose, it's a poisoning, and it's a poisoning of our young people. So we see that. We see our public services overrun here in border states because we have all these immigrants coming, and they need health services, they need schools, they need housing. And what's happening is you're seeing our homeless populations here in border states being pushed out, and we're seeing the immigrants, the illegal immigrants, what they call asylum seekers, are taking over those services. And we see largely young men, military-aged men, are the ones that are coming across. We also see a horrific number of people, men, young women and young men, being human trafficked. We see young children being used at the border. Because what the cartels do is they take or they are sold young children, and the cartel gives a young child to a group of migrants so they can call themselves a family unit. They come over, bring that child, and then that child is recycled back across the border. And in the meantime, that child is also sexually assaulted. The young women are sexually assaulted. Right now we have in Arizona, the Super Bowl is going to be here in February of 2023. And the human trafficking that we are going to see from the Super Bowl is beyond anything that people want to talk about or will talk about. We've got training initiatives that are happening, but it's not enough because the Biden administration will not control that southern border. Additionally, because of that, we have Border Patrol agents that are absolutely exhausted, beleaguered, and of course they are vilified by their own administration and their own management. So we have a suicide issue among our federal agents. We just had another Border Patrol officer commit suicide. And we're seeing that throughout American law enforcement as well. We die twice as often by our own hand as we do by felonious assaults. That's a crisis.
What's your reaction to Martha's Vineyard, the mayor of DC, them having a complete public meltdown over the fact that obviously Governor Abbott, DeSantis sending illegal immigrants to their areas and having to deal with that? What's your reaction to that?
Well, everybody wants to be a sanctuary city until the illegals actually show up and start taking their services and start committing crimes and things like that. So it is, quite frankly, it is hilarious. We just had the mayor of California all of a sudden discover that his border is wide open in California, and he went to the border and did a whole video and asked people, please don't everybody come over the border. But it's hilarious, but it's also sad because these people, these politicians, and we had this in my native Chicago too, Mayor Lori Lightfoot, they're all declaring these states of emergency over 0.1% of the illegals that are crossing the southern border. And yet you see small towns like Eagle Pass, Texas, or like Douglas, Arizona, they're having to deal with tens of thousands of migrants who are overwhelming, again, the services and the schools and the hospitals, and they're declaring a state of emergency. Like I said, everybody wants to welcome the illegals until the illegals actually show up on their doorstep, and then it's a crisis for them.